Hey there, how's it going? davidinark here, and today we're going to be playing around with the path editor. So what I've got here are 4 different paths that I have recorded. Same vehicle, same replay, just set up different pathways, and you can check those out. Now I've got all 4 going at the same time, so you might want to pick 1 or 2 screens to watch and then maybe go back and rewatch the other 2 screens or the other 3 screens, or however you need to do that if you want to try to catch some of the nuance and some of the difference between some of the camera angles going on as far as the pathways go. Now, I will tell you, I am by far and away very, very much a beginner to all of this camera path stuff. I've seen a couple of videos that taught me the basics, so I started getting here and playing around. Now, the big problem is that as you create paths on the same map, they all show up at the same time. And I have yet to figure out, how do you hide the paths you don't want to see? So whoever knows the answer to that, please leave that down in the description below or in the comments. I appreciate that so much. So although this is not really a tutorial video per se, how do you use the camera path tool? I will tell you, there are videos that are going to be way better than this one. I know, not very encouraging to stick around, but you can stick around and watch me do this. So the first thing I'm going to do is, in this particular case, I'm going to start with the camera in the driver's seat. By the way, I had to click on the camera path tool, which you can kind of see is in the upper. If you go to the very top menu up there at the very top, you can see over on the right hand side there's only one little orange button click. That's the camera path tool. Then I clicked on new once that window opened up. And what you do is you go into free cam, which is Shift C, and you free cam around, and when you get your camera positioned where you want it, then you can click the add marker tool. Now, the other thing you want to do is you want to make sure that your vehicle is where you want it to be for that particular camera angle. And this is where it takes a lot of practice and a lot of getting used to, because I still don't have the hang of it. I've probably done, I don't know, 8 or 10 different camera paths, and I'm still figuring out exactly how this works, because right when I think I've got it figured out, the camera does all kinds of weird stuff. So just kind of be warned about that. By the way, the reason why the vehicle is so blurry here is why? Because I've got motion blur turned on. And because I've got motion blur turned on, and this is a paused image, then of course it's going to be blurred. So what I'm doing is using free cam to kind of position the camera where I want it. I thought it would be cool to do a wheel shot here. So I set the camera up at the wheel and I tell it to add a marker. You'll see later where my mistake is, and we'll talk about this as we go on. But so what I'm doing is, you can see where my mouse is up here. I'm clicking the plus time. So each one of those is how many seconds. So minus 10 seconds, minus 2 seconds, minus 1 second, you're rewinding, plus you're moving forward. So I moved the car forward enough to where it was off the jump, but then I backed up because I wanted my camera to be, what I actually decided was I wanted my camera to kind of catch up to the car. Let me tell you from my experience, what one big mistake that I just made right here, because I think it's important to cover it right here. I jumped from the top of the ramp all the way down to the bottom of the ramp. So when you do something like that, and I only gave it like, I don't know, 6 or 8 seconds. When you do something like that, depending on what's going on in your video, you may not be giving your camera enough time to catch up with what's going on. Generally speaking, in my experience anyway, the fix for that is you want more camera points to follow along with what's going on. There are a couple of rudimentary fixes for it. We'll talk about that in just a second as well. But at this point, what I'm trying to do is position the camera so that I get a general idea, I'm trying to position the camera so that when the car crashes, then I've got the camera position. Now, I did not hit add a marker yet because I wanted to make sure where the car hit, and you can see I was way off, so I had to move down here. And you can see from the other red dots floating around that, again, I've been playing on this particular map. I've played on other maps as well. Again, somebody knows how to hide the other paths, please let me know, because, man, it's annoying when you're trying to figure out where paths are supposed to go, where markers are supposed to go. So, okay, so here I set a marker, and then the car crashes. And at this point, then I add some more time. You can see that the car goes down the hill. I should have followed the car with a marker here, but I didn't. Instead, I just turned the camera around, if I remember correctly. You have to forgive me. I'm recording the voiceover after I did the work. So I can't remember if I added a marker there or not. I probably should have added a marker. So one of the things you can do, if you add a marker, especially if you're watching a car go by, so you add a marker as the car approaches, and then immediately after the car passes, you turn the camera and add another marker, then the camera will turn in place. When you add a marker inside the camera path tool, it's calculating the angle, the timing, everything. So the field of view, all of that stuff. So just be aware that, I mean, it's trying its best to do what you want to do. From my experience, it is nowhere near perfect, and in my head, some of the angles and stuff make more sense than what actually happens in the game. And again, I think that's just because I'm so new to this and I'm still trying to figure out exactly how camera pathing works. Again, there are tutorials that cover this. You know, you can search for BeamNG camera path and you'll find other people doing this. And I'm pretty sure you've seen many other BeamNG drive players who are phenomenal at making the camera do things that I haven't learned how to do yet. So again, this is not necessarily a tutorial, but I still wanted to explain the steps that I'm going through. So again, I add time or forward the time in the replay, and then I add a marker. And sorry that I'm now 7.5 minutes into the video before I even mention the word replay, but setting up the cameras only works when you've got a replay recorded. So you're going to have to use the replay tool in order to record your path, and then you use the camera path tool to set camera paths on an already set up replay. Then once you've got the replay set up and you've got the camera angles set up, then I've got my camera path set up. I'm going to save it here. In this case, I'm going to call it test 4, I think is what I call it. So here we do number 4. Then here you see where it says play and hide the editor. At this point, it is playing. So at this point, if you were going to record this, then you could start your recording software and record what's going on here. So you see how the camera dipped down to the wheel but then immediately took off? What I should have done was added a couple of more path points in order to keep the camera on the wheel. Instead, I immediately jumped down to the end of the ramp, and you saw there, and I think you see in a couple other places, the camera goes underground because it's a ramp. I cannot quite figure out how to fix that. I don't know what's going on there. So I'm going to play around with that a little bit, see if I can figure out what's going on. So one of the things that I don't know how to do is if I go in here to where these are all the different cameras, okay? Oh, I do want to show you this real quick. So you notice down here at the bottom it says track player vehicle. You can, by default, that's turned off, and this is per camera, so it's a real pain in the butt. Not per camera, but per marker. It's a real pain in the butt. I don't understand why there's not an option to just always track the player vehicle and then, like, by default have that checked and then uncheck it when you don't want it. I don't know. Then again, it could be that I'm so new and I don't understand the tool that no one ever uses this. I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and check all of these, and then let's rerun this, and you can see the difference. I mean, immediately you see the difference. We start in a weird angle in the seats. So what's going to happen this time is the camera, as best as it can, is going to keep the player vehicle in the shot at all times. Before, when the camera would go off and do its thing, it didn't care if it could see the car or not because I didn't tell it to track the car. This time I've told it to track the car at every marker. And so you see the vehicle stays on the screen for the most part as best as BeamNG can keep up with it. You'll also notice that, or maybe you've noticed, that especially in this time, but even in the last time, the camera, when it goes in between a couple of those markers because of the ramp, I actually go under the ramp and underground in order to get to my next marker point. That's not what I want at all. You know, I want this to stay above ground. So one of the things I wish you could do with the camera is like have a button or something that forces it to lock above the surface, or you know, I don't know, maybe go no lower than a mesh road or something. I don't know. I don't know what that would look like, and I'm sure that's probably not even a thing. But you can go in here and you can edit the points. Now I'm at the wrong angle, so let me turn a little bit. So here you can see I'm raising and lowering the path points. Now again, part of my problem is that because I have so many other paths that are visible, I get really confused here as to which marker I'm actually adjusting. And then on top of that, I talked earlier about how I could set a marker looking one way and then immediately turn around and set a marker looking the other way. Well, I've done that multiple times in this pathway, so it gets a little funky. The other thing is, so I'm around marker number 7. That's what I just clicked on. What I want to be able to do is insert a camera point in between 7 and 8, because I see that the camera angle here that it takes is like way out of whack. It goes way up in the air and then way down in the air. I mean, that's what that blue line is. That's showing you the camera path. Okay, I don't want that. And yes, I can move it up and down, but when you do that, that actually affects what the camera path it looks like between the points before it and the points after it. So what I would love to figure out, and again, if you know the answer to this, please leave this down in the comments. How can I add a camera marker in between two existing points? Is that even a thing? And it may not be. I don't know. What I thought I could do though is like sit right here, and I believe I'm between 7 and 8. So I've got camera 7 selected, and I'm just going to I don't want to add it at the bottom. What I was hoping I could do was add a marker in between 7 and 8. And instead, I added it at the bottom. And now that I'm looking at this back, maybe that was my problem. Maybe I clicked the wrong button. So, I don't know. It added a marker into the list. And honestly, I'm not exactly sure where it added the marker. At least not here. Now, because I've seen the end result, right? I'm doing this voiceover after the fact. I know exactly what happened there. And also now that I'm thinking about it, now I'm wondering, I think I clicked the plus there at the bottom instead of clicking add marker at the top. I don't remember. I'd have to go back and watch again. I missed it while I was trying to figure this out in my head while rewatching this. So forgive me for that coming along. But see here, so you see where the blue path goes under the ground. So what I want to do is be able to move the path so that it's above that ramp. And again, as I mentioned before, I believe one of the ways to do this would be to put in more points as you're setting it up. The problem is you don't necessarily know that you need those points until you watch the end product. Like I didn't know it was going to do that. So like, okay, let me see if I can fix this by adding a point in, and I can't figure out how to add a point in. Although now that I said that, again, I think that had I clicked add marker at the top, because I don't think that's what I did. I don't know. I'll have to play around with that some more and definitely get some more experience with the camera editor. But I wanted to show you what this looked like. And again, there are way better tutorials. And this isn't really a tutorial. This is more me playing around with the camera editor more and just showing you kind of my experience than it is anything else. But one of the things that you're going to see here is my thinking was, okay, well, instead of raising up the bottom one, what if we go up here and I raise the top one, and look what it does to the camera immediately before it at the top. It immediately flips that one so that it goes like way underground. I don't know what's going on there. So that was not fixing my problem. Did it raise the one up? Yes, it did. But it shoved the other one like straight down into the ground. No idea why. Unless it has to do with the fact that I've got back-to-back cameras in there or something. I don't know. So again, one of the things that you can do while you're trying to troubleshoot is go in here and replay the cameras and see what happens. Now, the other thing I'm trying to do is get myself out of the driver's seat. So obviously I still have a camera that is set to focus on the vehicle. So I'm just going in here and I'm unchecking the track player vehicle, and there you go. So it happened to be between camera 1 and 2. So there is that. And then the other issue that I had was I lost the wheel track. So now I'm like looking at the side of the car. I didn't want the side of the car. My big problem is I have no idea. I don't remember which camera angle got me there. And there's probably an easy way for me to figure this out. But I just went through and randomly unchecked track the player vehicle until I kind of thought maybe I had found the one. You see, I have got 4 checked here. And again, I think it's because camera 4 and 5 markers are kind of just a flip camera thing. So I think I got them backwards now I'm thinking about that. But as you can see, that was still the side of the door. So still not happy with that. So again, I couldn't figure out which one was which. I do like the fact that you can play with the camera angles while you're still in the editor so that you can clean some of that stuff up. So obviously that wasn't it. So in that case, we'll jump down to number 5. And I'm going to go ahead and put 4 back. And so now when we play, again, I'm in the driver's seat. It starts to pull away. We flip our camera out. I don't particularly care for that, but that's okay. Let's jump over here. Oh, and there it is. So yes, I found the camera that pointed to the wheel. Again, I should have added another time set in there next to the wheel in order to prolong that particular camera. And so essentially what you would do at that point is, so I had the one set next to the wheel. Then I would say maybe add another second, move the camera up to right next to the wheel again and set another camera. So you want that marker to move with the vehicle. So anyhow, I'm still learning whole lots of stuff about the camera path. Oh, that's what happened to camera 17. Okay, well, now we know. Yeah, when I added it, it put it right back to where the camera was because it did exactly what I told it to do because it's a computer. That's what it's going to do. Anyhow, I hope this was informative or entertaining, both. Who knows? Maybe just a whole lot of head shaking. In any case, let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. Special thanks to Hero of God, GamerGull, LosWilko, 7220 Gamer, the Maestro of Madness, and ItHasToBeDone for supporting the channel. Thank you so much for watching. There we go, flying off. I appreciate that so much. If you got other comments, problems, suggestions, horror stories, feel free to leave those down in the comment section below. I'm davidinark. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.